I am Beth Genley. I am co-author of Save Yourself from Burnout, A System to Get Your Life Back. And today, in this noisy, busy marketing company that has allowed me their conference room space so I can talk with you, I am excited to talk to you about the very first thing, absolutely the first thing you should do if you have severe burnout. Severe burnout is miserable. I've been there, I know, right? And a lot of times, the most important symptom of severe burnout is exhaustion. And I don't mean just tired. I mean totally exhausted. I mean so tired it hurts. So tired you feel it in your bones. So tired you feel it in your soul, right? That kind of tired. When you're that tired, it is an absolute priority to do something about it. And that is the first place that you need to start. Now, I want to talk a little bit about being tough enough to get along on very little sleep, because that's a point of pride for a lot of us, that we have learned how to function on very little sleep. And, you know, a lot of people say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Or they say, you know, sleep is for wimps. I've heard that too. I've said it myself in the past. There are studies on looking at fatigue and less sleep and how people do. And I have to tell you, they're not pretty. The studies, one of them, very interesting, they talked about mild sleep deprivation, when you're mildly short on sleep. And by mild, they meant that the person was sleeping 6 hours a night. Okay, for many of us, that would be a full night's sleep, way more than we're used to getting. So in 6 hours of sleep a night, their volunteers were asked to do a number of performance tasks that tested their speed of reaction and their judgment and their ability to make split-second decisions and their ability to make good choices. On other nights, instead of shorting them of sleep, they made sure they had a good amount of sleep, and then they gave them some alcohol to drink and actually tested their blood alcohol levels and then gave them the same performance tests. Now, the interesting thing is, after a week of sleeping 6 hours a night, these folks were performing on their tests at the equivalent of a blood alcohol level that would make them illegal to drive. In other words, they were unsafe, their reaction times were slow, their judgment was impaired, they were not thinking very clearly. But the most fascinating thing about this test, and many others that have been done on sleep deprivation, is when they asked the volunteers in this test how they thought they were doing on their tests of reaction time and so on. Pretty universally, the answer was, you know what? The first day I could feel I was really failing. I just wasn't doing as well as I wanted to. But by the second or third day, I really had it down and I was performing up to snuff. I'd gotten used to being tired and I was performing as well as I ever do. That was not true. They were not performing as well as they ever did, but there's something in our brains when we're under that kind of stress that encourages us to think that we are performing that well. So you can be not safe. You can be at risk to yourself and other people. You can be unsafe to drive heavy equipment or to make critical business decisions or to take care of children when you're short on sleep. The same way, because would you go to work drunk? I certainly hope not, right? And going to work consistently on less than 6 hours of sleep turns out in some ways to be similar to going to work drunk. And if you joined this Facebook Live or this video because in fact you were sleeping way less than 6 hours a night, because you work shift work, because you have small children, because you're like me and you had a job that required you to work incredibly long hours at a stretch, because you are getting some critical project done, because you're running a startup, whatever the reason is for you getting less sleep, I'm going to argue that it's time that you did something about that, that is your first priority now, to get more sleep. It can be hard to do. If you're very used to going with very little sleep, you may not be performing as well as you hope you are, but you probably have messed up your body's rhythms. They're called circadian rhythms, and they have to do with hormones like cortisol that go up and down during the day. And when they're up, you're going to be more awake and more alert. And when they're down, it's going to be more possible for you to sleep. Now, I got myself so exhausted when in my job that took crazy hours that my body just had no idea when I was supposed to be sleeping and when I was supposed to be awake. It took a while for me to learn to sleep again, or to sleep more than a few hours at a time. So it may take you a little while as well, depending on how stressed you are. Naturopaths and some other practitioners can actually help you with this and kind of adjust your hormone levels. First of all, find out if they need to be adjusted by a doctor, someone who really knows what they're doing, and then maybe can give you some temporary supplements that would help you with that. The part that I want to talk about is how you get back into the habit of sleeping enough. Your first step, I would recommend a sleep vacation. And I want to talk about vacations also because it's summertime and there may be a lot of pressure from your family or whoever to take a vacation. And if you're like me, part of the reason that you're resisting going on vacation, which you may well be, because many Americans do, part of the reason you're resisting is because you know if you go someplace where you can turn off your alarm clock and really relax, you may sleep through that whole week, right? I've done that. I've gone on vacation with my family and slept for 12 hours at a shot, gotten up, had breakfast, and gone back to bed and slept 6-8 more hours, got up for a few hours, went back to bed, and that went on for several days. It disappointed the heck out of my family, right? I didn't know I was going to do that, but once I was doing it, I was just stuck. I was so tired. And I have talked to more than one person who has had the same experience, that they go on vacation exhausted and all they do is sleep. What I want to say to you is accept the inevitable. Go for a sleep vacation. Prepare your significant others that that's what's going to happen, that you need to get enough sleep so that you stop being crabby, so that you start being able to be more available, and that you are just not going to be available while they do whatever they do on their vacation. Your job is going to be to get enough rest. So it's quite possible you could have a staycation. Other people in your household could go somewhere else and have a vacation, and you could have a staycation and just sleep. So that's my first recommendation. It's not possible for everyone, especially if you have small children. So I'm going to challenge you to a second way of getting enough sleep or getting caught up. And this one you may need to do even after your sleep vacation, or you may do it instead of the sleep vacation. And that's called restorative sleep. And for restorative sleep, you just schedule yourself that you're going to be sleeping 10 hours a night, routinely for a while, right? At least 10 hours a night, maybe 12. That means setting your bedtime at 7 p.m. and sticking to it, making that an absolute priority, that you are going to bed early in the evening and you're going to shut down completely and let yourself sleep. It may take a while to convince your body that this is actually your new bedtime and this is actually when you're sleeping. It may be useful to get some supplements from a doctor to help you support this, to make the changeover. But if you're really committed to it, you will reach the point where you are naturally waking up in the morning without an alarm clock, refreshed and ready to go. This is assuming that you don't have medical issues that get in the way of your sleep. Many people do have medical issues that get in their way of their sleep, and many people are so burned out that getting to a doctor and getting them taken care of is kind of the last thing on their minds. It's way low on their priority list. So if you have medical issues that are interfering with sleep, I think I've said it a number of times now, get thyself to a medical provider who understands sleep and who understands your medical issues and can take care of you properly. Going back here, I've written a blog post about this that goes through actually 4 steps in the whole sleep cycle. And I want to skip, we've gone through 2 of them now, the sleep vacation and restorative sleep. I now want to go to the very last one, which is to avoid backsliding. Because if you're a go-getter, if you're really dedicated, if there's a lot on your plate and you're feeling a lot of pressure, a few nights of getting even close to enough sleep and you may feel like a new person. I hope you do. Often we do. And when you do, the temptation to go back to the pressured lifestyle, to go back to getting just a few hours of sleep a night, to just push and push, that temptation can be almost overwhelming. And what that is backsliding. That's going to put you right back in your miserable, exhausted, non-productive, overstretched, unsafe condition. So you're going to need to be aware that this is going to happen to you, that you will backslide without even realizing that's what you're doing, and catch yourself and reset to a more reasonable amount of sleep. So I have to say this whole broadcast has been kind of tough love today, right? I've been speaking very firmly and very strongly about getting enough sleep because I think it's that important. Now, Dr. Marnie, my co-author for Save Yourself from Burnout, listens to me go on about this, and she says, you are really obsessed with sleep, aren't you? Not everybody has this issue. I did. Many people do. If you're one of those people, I'm talking to you, right? You are one of the people who really needs to hear that consistently existing on inadequate sleep is not safe for you. It's not safe for the people around you. It's not safe for your company. So take a look at scheduling a sleep vacation pretty soon. Take a look at scheduling yourself to go to bed really early, consistently for a while, to let yourself get fully caught up on sleep. You will feel amazing, and if you stay disciplined about your sleep habits, you will find yourself getting a lot more done in the day and just enjoying your day a heck of a lot more. All right, that's the end of kind of my whole speech on getting enough sleep and on sleep vacations. You can read more details about this in this week's blog post, and when I repost this video, I'll put up the URL for that. But if you just go to burnout-solutions.com and click on blog, this week's blog post is the first one that pops up, and that one is about sleep. Next week, we're going to talk about if you're not that tired, but you are burned out, what should your vacation look like? And what are the first things that you need to do to address burnout? So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited to talk to you about that. It's a whole other set of recommendations, which are frankly more fun, but you can't get there unless you're rested enough to be able to enjoy them. So that's what's coming up. That's where you can get the blog post. If you want to be getting my email newsletter on Tuesdays, which give you even more details and give you first access to the blog posts and to bonus content, then please go to saveyourselffromburnout.com, saveyourselffromburnout.com, and sign up for the newsletter there. And the other thing that will give you is first crack at pre-ordering the book as soon as it's available, and that time is coming up. That's the news that I wanted to share with you, that the book will soon be available for pre-order, and it will be in your hands in time for the fall and in time for you to give it as Christmas gifts, holiday gifts, New Year's gifts, So that's very exciting that will be available to you. And I can't even begin to tell you how excited I was to hold that very first copy in my hand. That is just an amazing, amazing feeling. All right, that's the end of the Facebook Live today. I'm very excited that you are here to join me today. I'm very excited if you're watching this in the recording that you're here today. And what I would love is for you to leave me a comment that tells me how tired you are and what you've been doing to help you recover from being that tired, and if any of these ideas strike you as ones that you can implement. All right, until next Thursday at 3 p.m., this is Beth Genley, co-author of Save Yourself from Burnout, signing out of Facebook Live. I look forward to seeing you on the Burnout Solutions Facebook page, and you're always free to email me as well at beth@burnout-solutions.com. Until next week.